Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican, then to the socialists. I want to thank my executive producer, Bonnie Williams, for being in the chat role this night, along with Dave, the unpleasant guy, Milner, straight out of Vermont. Great to have you here tonight. And as well, Mary Brockman, my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. Tim Fazenbaker is with us tonight. Baker, forgive me, is with us tonight. And he is out of the wonderful state of Maryland that unfortunately seemingly is under one-party rule except in the executive office. The Democrats have had that as a stronghold for, oh my God, a good 40 or 50 years. And he is trying to break free from the gerrymandering process that has taken place in the state of Maryland out of the 3rd Congressional District. He is running for the U.S. Congress. Tim, I got to ask you, why not just a city council member? What about that?
The stakes are so huge here in Maryland, and I have 4 little children, and I wasn't always in politics. I wasn't ever thinking I was going to be a politician. So I learned last year when I became a vocal advocate for many of the things that were going on locally that I had this voice and I had this backing from both the left and the right. And I knew there was this opportunity that we could begin to turn Maryland into a conservative Jew. And I knew that. But when President Trump called out Baltimore and showed the world what was going on here, it really opened the path for Baltimore to be flipped, and this will be the blueprint for how we can flip these cities across the country. Because you're right, it's been about 60 years that most of this state and our city of Baltimore has been in liberal socialist control.
Now, Tim, you know, and you and I both know, I grew up in the Washington metropolitan area. In fact, Washington, D.C. For most of my life, Baltimore has struggled, but Baltimore wasn't always that way. Baltimore was the prime trade area for this particular region. I mean, Baltimore's port, it had warehouses, it had businesses growing, and then all of a sudden, something happened. What exactly was the reason that Maryland decided that going to the left was going to be the best option?
Well, the last Democrat governor and mayor of Baltimore was William Donald Schaefer, that actually was more of a conservative. He was more of that old school mentality, old school conservative Democrat. After he was in office, powers that be got into play, and they started dipping their hands in the cookie jar, and they started to gerrymander this district. Now, District 2, where I'm running, used to be in Helen Bentley's, it was a Helen Bentley seat, and was also former Governor Bob Ehrlich's seat. But this was gerrymandered in early 2000, 2001, so that they could have more control. Now, I'm 41 years old. When I was a child, we had 8 House of Representative seats. 4 were Republican and 4 were Democrat, and now it's 1 Republican and 7 Democrats, because that is what their intention was, to become one-party control. And you see what's exactly going on. The city is losing population. It's becoming a cesspool for many things that people don't want to be around, and that's why these things need to change. And the leftist policies, and I tell everything has gone back. Have you had enough? Is it time to try a different route? I think we are in that environment now.
Well, you had a lot of attention given to Baltimore. And one of the things that we found out was that there was over $16 billion over the past couple of years that was sent to Baltimore to change the outcomes. And I want to know, and it might be too soon, after the death of the congressman there, but How has the House of Representatives, the appropriations hand of America, actually helped Baltimore when it appears that there's so much corruption there that it doesn't matter what you send there, it's not going to do any good?
That is correct. So what you're seeing are these people that become cohorts, and they will all share into the money that's going around, and the money never goes to the constituents like it really should. So
Yeah,
you have areas that are just run by gangs, and people just are living in terrible conditions. And in order to make a change, you have to, as President Trump says, drain that swamp.
yes.
And that is exactly what's going on here. It's one party control, no matter what party it is, will tend to have too much power, and they will abuse that. And that is why Maryland has been such in disarray. One, you got the socialist policies, but then you have one party control. You need to clean it all out, and you
Hmm.
need to have new people come in that will actually work with anyone to actually make real efforts to change things here. And I always tell people, as I said, I'm 41 years old, but Congressman Dutch Rupersberger, who I will
Yes.
be replacing, has been in public office for 2 months longer than I've been alive. So for 42 years, he's been around. It's like having a king. And it's time we make a change. We've had enough.
We've talked about corruption. We've talked about Baltimore. Um, the sense that you have over 300 murders in successive years, you have a low rate of solved murder cases, you have police that feel distrusting of government, and you have a government that seems to be distrustful of law enforcement. What role would you have in terms of bringing the Department of Justice into a better relationship?
Yeah, there's a lot of distrust between law enforcement and some of the communities. It needs to be that cohesion that when I was a little child, the police would walk up around the street in the corner, and people felt like they were part of the community. So
Yeah.
when William Donald Schaefer was the mayor and the governor, part of what he taught people was that cities are run by the communities. And when the communities start dissolving, which is what the left has done, then it becomes balkanized and people become against each other. So you don't have the local guy who's around the corner who's the police officer in your neighborhood. The people coming from out of town because they can't get police officers in Baltimore anymore because nobody wants to be in that environment. So now you have people that aren't from those neighborhoods have to come and patrol, and it becomes antagonistic. And you have two people that are against each other. So we need to make a better culture and environment so that people want to protect their own neighborhoods and take pride in their communities and get these gangs out of Baltimore because they are running everything and it's causing just chaos amongst.
Would you, as a congressman, and I don't know what committee you would like to sit on, wink, wink, appropriations. I don't know what committee you like to sit on, but wouldn't you ask the federal government to, in draining the swamp, do an investigation on the agencies of Baltimore to find out where all of that money went?
Yes, definitely. I have some personal connections with the University of Maryland, and that is tied in with all of this. So you have these people that are funneling money in all kinds of places, and we've seen
Yes.
it with the.
A congressman, one of the big questions would be how do you work with the mayor of Baltimore, who made one of his first initiatives, Mayor Young, one of his first initiatives after taking over from the mayor who was resigned due to corruption, the job of funding the placement of illegal aliens and illegal migrants into Baltimore. In fact, his plan of action was to use the homes that have been abandoned and turn them into places to stay for illegal aliens. You would be in direct competition or fight with this particular mayor. How do you change that process in Maryland?
A couple ways, but the one thing that I know from being on the ground and speaking to members of communities across the state is most of the people here do not support this sanctuary haven that they've created here. Our resources are the whole America First philosophy really means you take it. So you have to lead and you have to show that community isn't about the party. And that is changing here in Baltimore. We're seeing people who have voted Democrat their whole life are now realizing they're being used and taken advantage of. Do you get the population to force local government to change? You work with those people to do that, and you create a better environment. They become invested in it. But you also work with the municipalities, the mayor, and the governor, and the national government as well to come in and actually change things and change the environment. Hold those people accountable for things that they're doing that's wrong. Right? It's multifaceted. It has to be done and it will be done.
Tim, you are a job creator. You started businesses. You've gone through the process of signing people's paychecks. You know what it's like to have to hire and fire. What makes you different than your opponent when it comes to that?
So, Dutch Ruppersberger, like I said, has been in public office for 42 years. 42 years longer than I've been alive. What job has he created? As a matter of fact, he hasn't even created much legislation. So he doesn't understand what it takes to drive business and to make something thrive. All he does is collect off of the government bill, and it's that hard work growing up knowing. I grew up in a very blue collar area. I grew up in Dundalk,
Yeah,
and if people are in the area, they know Dundalk. Dundalk has been a very blue collar area, and when I speak and say Western Baltimore, they look at me when I finally say I grew up in Dundalk. They look at me and say, "Oh wow, you're like you're like from the ghetto on the east side." Now
exactly.
I have lots of pride in Dundalk, but it's hard work, and this is a blue collar area. I moved to Pennsylvania after college, but I came back to Ferris Point, which is outside of Dundalk, to raise a family because I knew the people in this area were great people, and what it took to make a thriving area. I grew up with Dutch Ruppersberger grew up in a more affluent area, and he
Hmm.
hasn't worked private business, and that's why we all say he's out of touch Dutch, and it's time that we've had enough, and he's gone.
It would be good to see Dutch retire and you replace him. But here's what those in the coffee houses of Annapolis and the tea houses of Annapolis would be saying about you. You want to redistribute wealth to the wealthy by doing a second round of tax cuts. You want to give the wealthy more of our money, the government's money, than you do the poor. What is your response to that, sir?
That is not true. So what just happened today was Dutch Ruppersberger, out of touch Dutch, was at Trade Point Atlantic, is the new home of what used to be Bethlehem Steel here in the Scarsdale.
Yeah.
He and my primary opponent, a Republican, both have supported what has been going on at Trade Point. Now, for people who don't know what Trade Point is a logistics company with lower paying jobs. And we have given about $500 million locally and nationally in taxes to this organization. And I have always said, why does a private business get $500 million of our money? And then when you peel it back just a little bit more, you find out the owner of Great Point Atlantic is none other than Steve Bisciotti, the same owner of the Baltimore Ravens. So
Mm.
why are we giving all this money to a billionaire for a business and we're not giving the money to the people or to other small businesses that can actually thrive with some kind of grant or a small business loan, but we're giving it to billionaire and they're bypassing a lot of legislation or a lot of regulation here with the environment to get this going. And it's being done by both Republican and Democrat. I stand for the individual and the communities over the billionaires getting this money. And in return, they're making donations to the people that have given this money. Follow the money. I'm always supportive of the individual and the communities, not the billionaires and the cronyism that goes on. And that is how I got into politics last year, by uncovering what was going on.
With you on the House committees, with you in the U.S. House when it comes to the idea of Maryland and America first?
Sure. I I am a person that, as I said, I support the individual in the community. I don't care about being in power or being elected. I've done well enough in life, and I could easily go off and stay in private business. But what I'm doing is to give back, as that America First thing is, to be able to give what I have achieved to my neighbors and my community. What you see with the other people is they are people that live off the government. They don't support term limits. I do. And for a lot of the hardcore conservatives that say, well, term limits, aren't in the Constitution, true, but neither was a term limit on the president. So we either have term limits for all or we don't.
Yep.
So the power that comes with people being in office too long and people who only work in government becomes abused more often than not. I am not that person. I will get in, I will expose things, and if I don't win re-election, that's fine. All I want to do is help, and I want to give people the power back that they used to have that's been taken away from them, so that your kids and my kids and everybody else can succeed. And that is what I bring to this table. And that when I become the next congressman in District 2 here in Maryland, you will always have transparency with me, real transparency. Whether you like it or not, you will know I am doing what I think is right for this community and this district, and I'm not being bought off like many, many of the politicians out there.
Tim Fazenbaker with us tonight, timfazenbaker.com. He's running for U.S. Congress. He's one of the few candidates in Maryland who's honest and open enough to tell you that he wants to put Maryland first in everything and not himself or his allies. Sir, how can people get in contact with you? What do you need to win? At least the primary.
Thank you very much. Yep, you can get hold of me at timfazenbaker.com, on Facebook at Fazenbaker for Congress, on Twitter at America1, Tim Faze, Faze. What we need is more people to get out there and spread our message. As always, we need more funding to be able to do this, but we don't need the funding in the millions of dollars like you see out of Touch Dutch has. We just need more people to get out there and spread the message. Go to those communities and neighborhoods with me to say, we're here for you. And that is how we are going to take back this.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. It takes you to make him come alive for Maryland. You can make it happen, ladies and gentlemen, and you can do it now. Make certain that you go to timfazenbaker.com, timfazenbaker.com, and thank him so much for coming on our show tonight. Tim, we love you. We appreciate you. We look forward to your return to our program, brother.
Thank you very much. American kids first.
There you go. And on that particular note, we have to make a very hard profit break. And we thank you so much for watching our program, The Exceptional Conservative Show. When we come back, I'll talk with you how we are now being watched by the left, and I'm serious about that. We have now become identified and targeted by the left for what we do every single night here at TECN TV. Yes, The Exceptional Conservative Show is on TECN TV, the best in urban conservative talk news. You can find us at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. Coming up, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you how you can put together your own Hallmark movie. Yes, you can put together your own Hallmark movie. I'll give you the outline of how to do it. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after this message.
Southwest 1380 has an engine fire descending.